Prison show is what I know. They bring in all these boys and girls all around the whole wide world. Prison show is what I know, but here we go. Whoa, prison show is what I know. They took me from my home, I can't get back to my family. I wanna hold just to get her back. I can't do this no more. It's the Imprisoned prison show.
Hello viewers at home, my name is Bukola Oriola and this is Imprisoned Show. First of all, welcome to year 2014. Can you imagine? 1 year has gone by and we are in a new year. And today we have an important guest in the studio. He is Commander Brian Podany from the Anoka County Sheriff's Office. Tonight we're supposed to have the sheriff with us, but unfortunately he couldn't make it due to unforeseen circumstances. So I would like to welcome Commander Podany in the studio. Thank you so much for coming back.
Thank you for having me. Thank you
because
for
we
having me.
had you in June when we had the event in Minneapolis.
Correct.
Yes.
Yep, it's good to be back.
Thank you so much. We missed the sheriff, but I do know that you are capable.
The sheriff sends his best.
You have been working.
Yes.
Together with the sheriff.
Yes.
It was here 2 years ago, so we're going to be going back to 2 years ago, what the office has been doing in terms of human trafficking awareness, prosecution, and fighting the battle in Anoka County.
Absolutely. Well, the past 2 years have been a busy time at the Sheriff's Office. We've done a lot of different things to continue our efforts in the battle against human trafficking. Most significantly, we've developed the Anoka County Human Trafficking Task Force, which we'll expand more on that in a minute. Some other things, we've done many different presentations to the public to raise awareness of not only the problem, but the efforts that we're undertaking to try to combat it. We've trained 3 detectives as well in doing human trafficking investigations.
Are these newly trained?
So they've been detectives for a long time, but they're newly trained in specifically investigating cases of human trafficking. And we've partnered with the Gerald Vick Human Trafficking Task Force as well as the Department of Homeland Security. But as I mentioned previously, the most significant thing that we've done is we've developed the Anoka County Human Trafficking Task Force.
Can you tell us more about that task force?
So, yes, it's the Anoka County Human Trafficking Task Force is comprised of law enforcement from a number of different law enforcement agencies in Anoka County. It was organized by the Sheriff's Office under Sheriff Stewart, and we've partnered together to not only train other law enforcement in Anoka County, but also to investigate incidents of trafficking and be proactive in our investigations as well.
Wow. And in your investigations, what have you been finding?
The majority of our investigations that we've been working with the task force with have been sex trafficking. One of the biggest things we find is that there's a lot of proactive work out there that we could be doing. We're doing largely reactive work. We have done some proactive efforts in doing different operations and stings and things, but the biggest thing that we find is there's a lot of work out there that we could be doing, and that's one of the reasons we developed the task force, was to try to pool our resources and work together, because every agency in and of themselves it's difficult to really get a firm handle on the problem and be able to divert resources to that with no additional personnel that are dedicated to this. But when we all work together, we're able to more effectively attack the problem. Anoka County law enforcement, we have a pretty strong tradition of working together with amongst agencies to attack different problems. So this has worked out pretty well. We've had our growing pains certainly, and there's been some challenges and some hurdles, and I'm sure there will continue to be some. But we're working together to get over those problems and those challenges so we can continue to address this problem.
And what would you say is the main challenge you've been having?
The main challenge is getting, every agency has a different philosophy and different resources that are available
To them?
To them, yes. And working together, different officers may feel we should attack a problem a certain way, and being able to get everybody on the same page and say this is the way we're going to do this. And everybody's very victim-centered in their approaches. That's first and foremost with our task force. The main thing we want to do is help the victims. If we can build successful prosecutions and successful criminal investigations, all the better. We're law enforcement, that's our job. But first and foremost, we want to try to help the victims. And sometimes we have differing beliefs about how best we should do that. But through open communication, we've been able to overcome those challenges. So.
Oh, good. And have you had any prosecutions in Anoka County?
Yeah, we've had multiple prosecutions in Anoka County, both at varying levels. We've had misdemeanor prosecutions at the city level, but we've had prosecutions for felonies from the county attorney's office. We've also prosecuted cases federally in conjunction with the United States Attorney's Office as well. So we have had, despite it only being a couple of years, we have had some successful prosecutions, which is very rewarding to be able to hold people accountable for the things they've done wrong and how they've victimized other human beings. So.
Okay, you said that one of the problems or the challenges you have is personnel. So with this success you are having with prosecution, are you foreseeing any kind of increase in the number of personnel you will have in the nearest future?
Well, we don't have any specifically directed to trafficking right now. That would entail hiring additional personnel. We are working on additional detectives in general, but we would, with those detectives, we've had a significant increase in our electronic forensic types of cases that we investigate, or that we use to investigate cases in our county. The vast majority of our criminal investigations now in our major crimes unit entail electronic forensics in some form or another, whether it's cell phone forensics or electronic forensics. And those numbers have skyrocketed and doubled almost every year for the past 5 or 6 years. And so we are trying to hire additional personnel to help relieve that backlog. But at the same time, by training multiple detectives, we're able to spread that out to not only better serve the public, but also help balance the caseload so we can be more aggressive in working these types of cases.
And when you are working with this type of cases, are you partnering with any local organization?
Yeah, we're partnering with many local organizations. For the investigation and enforcement, we are partnering obviously with other Anoka County law enforcement. There's 10 police departments in Anoka County as well as a sheriff's office. So we're partnering with the police departments in Anoka County, but we're also partnering with agencies beyond our borders, specifically with the St. Paul Police Department, the Minneapolis Police Department, also the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI, all those different investigative entities. Additionally, we're working more extensively with our county attorney's office, the prosecutors, as well as a U.S. attorney's office, not only in the task forces, but also on the cases that we're investigating as well.
I want to know if you're partnering with like service providers, but we'll come to that when we get back.
Yes, we are.
Thank you for staying with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. If you are just tuning in, this is Imprisoned Show. And now we're doing the Advocate Excellence Award. The Advocate Excellence Award is to reward those who are working behind the scenes that we don't see. So this time I'm also nominating somebody. Her name is Laura Closer. Laura was my personal advocate at Alexandra House about 5 years ago. How time flies. So she went to court with me. She was always checking in with me. And in fact, she shopped for me for Christmas when advocates were going out to shop for their clients. She shopped for me and my son. I think she shopped for me only. Or anyhow, she shopped for me during Christmas. And I'm so grateful for Laura because she put her work to heart and she built trust in me. She helped me to be able to build trust in her with the work she was doing. So I'm very grateful for her. So Laura, we want to thank you for the good work you are doing out there, and we hope that this plaque will encourage you to do more. And I would like to call on you, victims and survivors over there, to reach out for help and also to nominate your advocate for the Advocate Excellence Award. And it doesn't matter where your advocate is or which state you are in. You can go to Imprisoned Show website and nominate your advocate for the Advocate Excellence Award.
Hi, I'm Jaden, and this is the Kids Against Trafficking segment.
And I'm Skylar, and this is the flag that I made. It's the United States American flag, and I made it to stand up against human trafficking.
Kids, send in your flag of your country to the Imprisoned Show to stand up against human trafficking. Good night.
Can you believe they took all of them? All these kids, just for the wants and the needs.
It can be a painting, drawing, or collage.
Pray for the souls in prison show. Oh, oh, oh.
Welcome back. If you are just tuning in, this is Imprisoned Show, and we have Commander Podany from the Anoka County Sheriff's Office with us in the studio. We're talking about what the Sheriff's Office has been doing in the past 2 years in terms of the anti-human trafficking effort in Anoka County. So we're talking about partnering with local organizations. So apart from the government agencies you work with, do you work with grassroots organizations like churches or service providers?
We do. We work with a number of different service providers in churches, for that matter. We some of the different more direct involvement we work with Destination Freedom, Breaking Free, Children of the Night, also the Alexandra House right here in Anoka County, our local shelter. Anoka County Child Protection, which is a government entity, but they're more of a service provider, not so much directed at enforcement. Also, the Compassion Action Network and a number of different churches we presented and worked with as well in Coon Rapids and the Anoka area.
So working with these organizations, what has it translated into for you?
What is it? What? I'm sorry.
What has it translated into? What effect has it made working with
a lot of it has been effective at raising awareness, and we've actually gotten calls from some of the different presentations and groups we've worked with. We've gotten calls from people who became aware specifically off of what we had presented to a certain group. They became aware of a situation in their neighborhood or that they were familiar with, maybe a coworker, where they've then contacted us and we've initiated investigations on that. So just by generating interest with people who were previously unaware of the problem.
So earlier you talked about training the police officers. You know, how specifically are you training them, especially when it comes to going outside to respond to a call, and whereby sometimes the trafficker is the one calling the police against the victim for example, for those victims that are foreign born?
Well, a couple of different things we've done to undertake our law enforcement in Anoka County. The first thing that we did was we started working with our school resource officers, working targeting more juvenile victims juveniles that may be being victimized or being victims of trafficking, and working with our patrol officers, getting the information out there. It's difficult to get our patrol officers advanced training in something, but getting the word out on signs of trafficking and things to recognize when they're dealing with a situation where something might be a trafficking situation, certain questions and certain signs to watch for. And if they see these things, they are then generally direct that or refer the report to investigators who are then able to further look into the situation that have more specialized training in human trafficking investigations.
Before they do that, are they able to remove a victim from a situation and send them to the shelter?
It depends on what the situation is. We generally can't forcefully remove a victim from a situation. If we have a reason to put a welfare hold on somebody, that's generally for their own well-being when somebody's maybe suicidal or if they're threatening to hurt somebody else, and it appears to be more psychologically related. But we have a victim, we are very limited in what we can forcefully do for a victim as far as placing them. We can get them the information and facilitate getting them to, say, a shelter like the Alexandra House, but we can't force them to do that. We can try to make it as easy for them to do it as we can by getting them the information, providing them with transportation, things like that. But we're limited in the law, in what the law allows us to do to force someone's hand, if you will. So to get them services.
Okay, so this month of January is the month that the safe harbor law in Minnesota is going to be in effect. So what does that mean for the sheriff's office?
Well, for us, one of the main things is how we work with juvenile victims of trafficking. We have always had a victim-centered approach where we don't prosecute and go after criminally juvenile victims of trafficking who have done something illegal. Now what the safe harbor law is, that puts that into law and says now they are victims by definition, and this is how we need to treat them. Whereas in the past, law enforcement didn't always do that. And this basically forces that, but it also mandates that we notify our social services, our child protection, so they can get involved and they can try to help the victim as well. And we also, in working with trying to get emergency placements as well, it's changed it where we're able to do that now and get the victims the assistance they need by providing a shelter placement or things like that.
Alexandra House seems to be the only battered women shelter in Anoka County. And for those who are sex traffic victims, does the safe harbor law provide funding for providing safe homes for those who are specifically sex traffic victims?
I don't know that it specifically sets up the funding or puts the mechanism in place. One of the things that we've been that we've struggled with in providing shelter, in conjunction with the Alexandra House, when we have a sex trafficking victim, a lot of times they've been exposed to a lifestyle that can be very challenging and can be a life on the streets. And in our shelters, we have other families that are in the shelter as well with children who may be vulnerable just given the fact that they're in the shelter. Yes. So if we bring in a trafficking victim, we want to try to help them, but there's also an obligation for the people that are already at the shelter, to try to keep them safe as well, whereas they may be more vulnerable to recruitment into that lifestyle. So it's kind of a tough challenge for shelters right now that they're trying to work out how are we going to do this. So And we've been
So-
working with the Alexandra House and had conversations and meetings and trying to figure out how we're going to tackle some of those problems, because we need a place as well where we can put victims, or we know that when somebody is a sex trafficking victim,
Yes.
where can we get them help? Where can we bring them physically? We know of resources that can provide long-term things, but when we have an emergency, we need
Yes.
somewhere to put this person.
Yes.
And if it's an adult, a lot of times that's the Alexandra House, but when we have juveniles, we have to look at shelter placements and things like that. So,
So, aside from Alexandra House, because those kids who are also homeless are vulnerable, do you work with any homeless shelter in terms of human trafficking prevention among their clients?
we do. We have worked with Breaking Free considerably. They don't provide the same services as Alexandra House, but we don't have a lot of homeless shelters in Anoka County, and so we don't have that extensively set up right now. So, but a lot of times it's referrals to Breaking Free or to Alexandra House, or if it's a juvenile, we do a shelter placement. So.
Okay, we'll be right back. I still have more questions for you.
Thank you.
Thank you for staying with us. We will be right back.
Hello, my name is Emily Wise. Please join Bucola in the fight against human trafficking by partnering with the Anyton Story. Their mission is to advocate for victims and empower survivors of human trafficking. For more information on that, you can go to or email info@anyton.org. We also have many events coming up within the next year. One is at the Maple Grove Library on Main Street in Maple Grove. 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., Saturday, January 11th. Once a month, we have the Empowerment Circle. You can find more about the Empowerment Circle on our website. We also have a newsletter of the Anyton Story, and you can subscribe to this on the website so that you may be knowledgeable about the happenings going on in this organization. Thank you for your time.
Imprisoned show.
We understand that Anoka County is huge for sex trafficking. How is that?
Well, first of all, on a national level, the Midwest is they a lot of times refer to it as the factory. Many of the girls who are trafficked and victimized across the country come from the Midwest, and specifically many from Minnesota. We use a number of different tools when we do our investigations. One of the things that we see a lot of our the marketing being done, if you will, for sex trafficking is on erotic review sites and like sites like Backpage.com, where people are actually that's where they go to find the services that they're looking for. And every day in the metro area alone, there's I forget if it's 300 or 500 ads are posted daily. Yes, so to try to for law enforcement to try to be reactive and and try to get through those ads, it's very difficult.
I can imagine with the personnel challenge.
Absolutely, and for every victim to try to initiate a case and to try to work that case is monumental. So we try to focus our efforts initially when we're looking at those and doing proactive efforts and looking for juvenile victims or victims that we may be familiar with that we know are being trafficked by somebody, and that we may be particularly familiar with their problem or that they're in our community. We're here in Anoka County, but this is happening across the state and across the nation. So we try to focus our efforts on what we can in Anoka County, but many times those cases lead well beyond our borders, not just out of Anoka County, but also across the Midwest and even across the country. The victims are being moved and exploited elsewhere, not just in Anoka County.
During the break, you talked about a case in Fridley. Can you Tell the viewers
Yeah,
about
we
that.
one of our more significant cases that we worked since last time, within the last couple of years, was actually rooted in Fridley. We had a couple of different suspects, and they had trafficked victims. Some were adult and some were juvenile, all female victims throughout the Midwest, not just in Minneapolis-St. Paul area, but across the state of Minnesota, also into the Dakotas, Denver, the Quad Cities area down by St. Louis, Iowa, Wisconsin, all over. And the case, it took many months to investigate, and all told, I think we estimated over the past few years they had trafficked between 40 and 50 victims. And that case is still, there's still some pending criminal activity with the case right now where I can't discuss all the details. But we had 2 detectives that worked that, and this was a pretty significant case, but it was rooted right here in Fridley in our own backyard.
Wow.
A lot of times people don't realize that this is happening right here. This isn't a problem that just happens in big cities out on the coast or in Las Vegas or other countries. This is happening right here.
What about labor trafficking? Do you see any labor trafficking, or are you getting calls for that?
We do. It's not the extent that we do with sex trafficking. With all forms of trafficking, I think it's very underreported because the victims a lot of times aren't seeking out assistance because they don't know that the help may be there, but also in trying to get the help, they're in a powerless situation. And where they are afraid of their trafficker, and they're afraid if they try to report it, what's going to happen to them? Is their trafficker going to do something? When we see labor trafficking, a lot of times there may be immigration issues, and they're worried about what will happen with that. And rather than, and a lot of times when we have particularly international labor trafficking in other countries, police are not considered to be your friend, and they're not nice, they're not supportive, and they're not, you know, we're here, that's not our purpose, and that's not, but we still have to overcome that barrier if we're going to try to get a victim to open up to us. So we do see labor trafficking, and I think it's grossly underreported. We have had multiple incidents in our county that we've investigated and prosecuted, but it's not reported as much as sex trafficking.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Help me out. They took me away from my life, my family. I'm stuck as a slave in the dust of everything I've ever known in my life. I've just found this place I'll go to. Heaven is where I go on my days and nights. Help me get out of this place I live. I can't be here anymore. All these people are just walking on eggshells, wanna burst down the door. I'm just stuck in this house I live. Can't the sky and pray, that's what I'm doing. Can't I live in this place anymore? I live trafficking of me. I gotta give myself up to my father. I know, give myself up to my mother. I know. What am I supposed to do? They shut the door and now I'm trafficked all around this world. Can you believe that they took me from home? Can you believe that they took me from my home? Can you believe that this could happen? I don't know. Oh, oh, oh. I'm just a little boy. Nobody loves little me. I need to just keep on praying to my Father, 'cause I'm gonna go home patiently. I'm not gonna live in this world. You can't get me on this little world. I'm going to heaven, all the boys and girls. I've been trafficked. I've been trafficked. I've been trafficked. Been trafficked my whole life.
We light this candle in honor of victims who have lost their lives as a result of human trafficking, and we hope that their soul rests in perfect peace.
Imprisoned show. Oh, oh, oh.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. And if you are just tuning in, this is Imprisoned Show. Tonight we have Commander Brian Podany in the studio from the Anoka County Sheriff, telling us about what the office has been doing in terms of anti-human trafficking efforts in Anoka County. So, Commander Brian, thanks again. I was going to ask you about this same month of January, which is the Human Trafficking Awareness and Prevention Month. So, what is the Sheriff Office going to be doing this month?
We're doing a number of things for Human Trafficking Awareness Month. We are going to be doing a media release to get the information out there about the problem, as well as what's going on and what we're doing about it. Also, we're going to be putting some information on our website, letting people know that January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month, and talk a little bit about the existence of the problem, a little bit of an overview, and then talk about what's being done locally. Also, we are going to be doing a segment on our Sheriff Show. We have our own show as well.
Nice.
That we do a monthly show where we showcase different parts of the Sheriff's Office and some of the functions and different things that may be going on, crime prevention tips, things like that. So we're going to be doing a segment on human trafficking for that as well. And then we also are going to be doing some different enforcement efforts as well. So.
Nice. So, during that show, is it a recorded show, or do you have people calling in, or do you take questions?
It's a pre-recorded show,
Okay.
so yeah, it's not a live for call-in sessions, but we generally take a few topics each month, and we talk. It's usually about a 10 to 15 minute show, and we'll spend about 5 minutes on each topic talking about that particular thing, and we're going to be doing that with human trafficking for January.
Nice. And apart from the TV show and talking about this, can the public call the Sheriff's Office about something on human trafficking during this month?
Absolutely. We always encourage people to contact the Sheriff's Office for if they have information or they suspect something that might be going on. If people are looking for general trafficking information as well, we can provide that. The best bet would be to call our investigations division to talk to one of our trafficking detectives or myself.
Nice. So during that month, the detectives, are they going to be available to take calls anytime, or they will be sharing that between going on the field to work?
They'll be sharing that and while they're working in the field as well. So we can, if somebody calls the sheriff's office and asks to talk to a detective in the criminal investigations division, or myself, if they talk to a detective, ask to talk to a detective who specifically deals with human trafficking, and we have 3 different ones, and we can put them in touch with a detective, and they can, if they have questions, if they have information they want to share, the detectives will be able to do that, as will myself. So.
Wow. Thank you so much. It's been nice having you. So what other information do you have for the viewers?
You know, one of the biggest things I think is just the advocacy and the awareness to get the word out there about trafficking. Our sheriff has worked very hard to not only do what we've done, but also to get the word out himself. He does a lot of speaking. I do, our detectives do, just to get the awareness factor out there to the public that this is a problem. This is a problem right here in our community as well. This is not something that only affects other communities or is just happens overseas. This happens right here in our own backyard, right here in Anoka County. And I think it's important if people suspect something, that there may be a problem, whether it's a neighbor, a coworker, that someone's being victimized, they become aware of a situation. Don't hesitate to call us. That's why we're here, and we can't address that situation if we're not aware of it. So one of my biggest takeaways for folks watching the show is to, if you see something or you suspect something, call. That's why we're here.
Okay. And we can just use the sheriff's number, right?
Yep, they can use the sheriff's office. They can call Central Communications in Anoka County. The non-emergency number is 763-427-1212. 911 always works, though. That's the much easier number to remember. And they can ask to talk to a detective in the investigations division. And that's usually the best place to start.
And will you say victims themselves can call, especially with the safe harbor law being in place?
Yep, absolutely. We certainly encourage victims to call. We can try, if a victim is particularly nervous about meeting and doesn't want a detective to come out to their house, we can meet at the office. We can facilitate a meeting in another location where the victim does feel safe as well. So.
Okay. Thank you so much. We are so grateful that you could come back, and we hope that you will come back again.
Thank you for having me.
Hopefully we'll have the sheriff back again too.
This was my pleasure, and on behalf of the sheriff, he sends his best as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
Bless you.
You've heard it all, so if you're a victim out there, please give the sheriff's office a call. And if you are just somebody in the public who wants to know more, you can call 911 or call the sheriff's office. We'll have the number on the screen for you to call. Thank you. Welcome back. We're going to be talking about the movie and book review. Tonight we are with Laura, who has read a book, right? We are reviewing a book tonight.
Yep.
Okay, so which book did you read this time?
I read a book called Sold, and it's by Patricia McCormick.
Okay.
This is a book that is for a younger audience, perhaps a young adult reader.
Like teenagers?
Yeah, teenagers. Okay. My daughter brought it home, and she got it at a middle school. Middle school is for her school is for grades 6 through 8.
Okay.
And she told me how sad it was, and that she really wanted me to read it, and that it was about human trafficking, you know, which your show's about. So I read it, and my daughter got really, really sad reading it because it's about a girl her age. I think the girl is 13 in the book.
So was this specifically sex trafficking?
Yes.
Okay.
It was sex trafficking.
In the United States?
No.
Okay.
It's she lives in Nepal, and her name is Lakshmi. She's 13 years old, and she has a very poor family. I believe her mother remarried, and she has a stepfather. They could use a new roof, but they don't have any money. And then Lakshmi would like to do something about it, and she finds out she can be be sent somewhere to be a maid and make some money, and so she thinks it might be for a year. And her family sends her off. I don't think her mom wanted her to go, but she did anyway. She was planning on raising money so that they get a new roof and some other luxuries, food even. And so she went away believing she was going to be a maid. And she gets sold to one person and then resold to another. She ends up with a woman named Mumtaz. And my daughter, as she read it, she could identify with the girl because she was a young girl in the story. And there were many parts in there that were horrible torture.
Would you say this book will be a good book for teenagers to read, to educate them about
It's too bad they have to read something like this and they don't have to read something like this. It's too bad that it's real. It's too bad that it's real.
Would it not be better for them to read it and see, in order to prevent themselves from becoming victims?
I think it makes it more real, which is a good thing. To read this, it makes it more real, so that, and because it's through a young girl's eyes, a young kid, if they find it hard to believe something like this would exist for them, it is about someone in another country, but they can see it through that girl's eyes and see what it feel like. I think it would help. I think it helps develop compassion and understanding for some things that you might not think are really out there. This book was very well written. It was written kind of like a diary. It was in little chunks, so very easy to read. I think it does help a kid to be aware, and it's not written. If it were for an adult, it would probably have a lot more descriptive stuff in it. So it's descriptive, but it doesn't get too much into it. The book talks about her whole entire journey from being at home, wanting to help out at home, and being sold to a stranger. And she was excited to see a different type of civilization. She thought she was going to go somewhere where there was a bigger city, but she ended up going to a place similar to where she lived, but it was further away. In the end, she ends up being able to escape. She meets someone from America, a pink man, she called him, and he gave her a card and told her to hang on to it and to get a hold of him if she ever wanted to escape, because he knew what was going on there, but he couldn't take her with him. So she kept the card. She hid it under a rug in her room and didn't do anything about it for a while, but she watched someone die of a disease that she lived with, and she just saw so much sadness. She finally decided that the man wasn't going to trick her, that he must have been a saint of some sort. So she did get a hold of him, and he helped her escape. Good. So it did have it had a good ending.
Good. Thank you so much. And we hope that you will have another book or movie.
I think maybe I'll
talk about
the movie next time.
I have the movie for you, the Not My Life movie.
Okay.
So perhaps we could review that.
Sure.
For the next episode. So thank you so much for the hard work you're doing back there.
You're welcome. Thanks.
All right. So thank you for staying with us. We will be right back.
You know, your fingers are the best kind of cutlery you can have.
We were born with natural cutlery.
Did you see the chicken wing stew yet? Oh, see right here. We have chicken wing stew, and it's going to be served with white rice. Hi everybody, Happy New Year. We are here on Christmas Eve at Alexandra House cooking for the clients, and today we are cooking spinach and collard greens vegetables with salmon and beef in it, and we are also cooking parboiled white rice and chicken wing stew. Well, these are menus from Nigeria, so we hope that the clients enjoy our meal tonight.
It probably tastes better too because all of the seasonings settle.
Yes.
Nice.
This year we hope to bring you cooking segments. So if you have a dish you would like us to learn about, you can send us a video online on YouTube, send it to Imprisoned Show page on YouTube, or if you are in the Minnesota area, you can invite us and we'll bring the camera to your house. Thank you. As you can see, we might have some technical issues. We have a lot of background noise because this is the kitchen, real kitchen, not stage kitchen, real kitchen, and many noise are going on here. There is the vent on, the other vent is on, the fridge is going, so you might have a little bit of noise, but I'm sure you're going to enjoy this. Food is served. So this is white rice with chicken wing stew with spinach and collard green stew. Once again, Happy New Year, Happy 2014. We have great shows for you this year. Done? Thank you for tuning in today. Once again, Happy New Year to you all out there, our fans from all over the world. We want to say Happy New Year to you. And we have great shows for you this year. Please go to the website, imprisonedshow.com, and find out what we are doing. As you have seen today, what the Sheriff's Office is doing in Anoka County, and the new organization that has been launched, the Anyton Story. So please go online and find out more and see how you can join hands with us to fight against human trafficking in every community around the world. We hope to see you next time. Bye-bye for now, and God bless you. Oh, before I go, I would like to thank my crew. They have been working behind the scenes. They are the ones making this show to happen. I would like to say a big thank you, and thank you also to our guest tonight, Commander Podany. Unfortunately, we couldn't have the sheriff here with us, Sheriff James Stewart, but we know that it will be here next time. Thank you once again, and God bless you. Bye-bye.
They took me from my home when I was just so young. I don't know who I am. I'm supposed to be your son. All they do is just treat me so bad. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I wanna live my life and live it forever, but they keep on bringing me back to this place. They trafficking me. They trafficking me all around this world. Wanted to talk to God today to say Just trying to tell a story to you now about my whole life and how they took me from my home and put me into this place. They sold me for just a couple cents, I know. Help me get home, help me get home. I don't wanna be in this place no more. Help me get home, help me get home. I don't wanna be in this place no more.
Kids, send in your flag. Here's Angie.